Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. And today I would like to go over the XRP price chart. So, I went ahead and I got a new recording software. So, hopefully, there's not going to be any more skipping. I'm using a completely different software now. And yeah, I hope you guys are all having a great Sunday. And I'm super excited for the week coming ahead. So, I just wanted to touch base and, show you guys what's going on here. So as far as XRP goes, um, we had that lower low right here, the wick down here, and we assumed that maybe it was accumulation, along the bottom here from this structure, entire structure. It was super deep on the end. Normally, you're not going to run the third wave on an XRP consolidation, but we definitely had a liquidity grab here. As you can see, we're already getting a little bit of relief. Um, XRP, it didn't break down out of the XRP BTC structure, and that tells me that this breakdown here was mainly Bitcoin weakness. Um, so, as far as XRP, I still believe that this is a short term pullback on the way to a higher level here. And I think we're all waiting. We know, hey, where's the bull run gonna come in? And there's long periods of chop in these markets, and you're gonna get, a month or two of a blow off move, and we definitely haven't seen anything like that. But this would be the perfect conditions in order for something like that to start from here going forward. So, okay, we got XRP here. We're getting a little move up. I'm gonna do an extra little deep dive today. Let's go ahead and go to the candles here. So, from where we last left off, I told you guys about the liquidity void level, the TVP where orders were not filled and price moved away extremely fast. I think we all know the consolidation triangle along the top that XRP is making. We're in a huge macro breakout, which looks exactly the same as this for the most part, by the way, besides this lower wick here. And then you get your move up here, then you get your consolidation, and then you keep going. So if we break the upper band of this trend line along the top, you guys already know what time it is. Okay, XRP usually doesn't just, break and hang out. Like, we're gonna get some type of rounded move that's gonna get steeper and steeper if we get the break to the top here. If we were to turn around and come down and break this level, then of 2.68, then I'm gonna be worried. The structure is not the same. But for right now, I'm assuming everything else is lining up that this structure is gonna go ahead and break upwards. Um, so I'll go down to the lower time frame where we kind of left off so I can show you guys the liquidity voids in TVP, just like a quick example. Um, so in my past few videos, we talked about these levels. I'm going to go all the way back just so it's like super easy to recognize. So here was the original example I showed. We did end up coming lower here. Then we filled out great price action down here. Look, clean, nice long wicks. There's a wick on the bottom there. Wick, wick, wick. Everything's all good. Price action's clean. Then you made a flat bottom candle and got a liquidity void as you were leaving this level of of 2.78. So as you were leaving 2.78, and we know there's a lot of absorption happening at 2.8. So 2.8 was a huge level, especially back here where there's large amounts of accumulation. Price came down, and if you were a big holder, you could have averaged in lower here, creating perfect price action. They weren't offsides along here. And then we got a large move away. That shows possibly some orders are not filled, because it was a flat bottom candle, and the price moved away without creating even price action. So then you get your move back down exactly, as I called it. You get your move up and then you get your move back down. Boom, perfectly fill out that level. How would you know that? And then you come up here, then you start to make some choppier price action here. So we talked about this level. If I zoom in here, you can see on this, so that was the area that was taken originally from that we talked about. This level right here has a wick underneath it. Obviously, it wasn't a very long wick. It actually still got filled in the end, but here was your main level with your flat bottom candle right here, a liquidity void. And you came down, filled out price action, took that area. We actually came a little bit further here, and we took this area, right? Um, we took this area down here. But you see this flat bottom candle, how it acts as an area? Price hits it, touches it, doesn't touch it, barely. Looks like it's gonna bounce. Put some fake lows here. Boom, hits this level perfectly, and then you get your bounce, right? It's wild. And so that was where you're at. Pretty much you came down, you took all these areas, so you did end up taking this low right here. So this would be your new low, and you put a flat bottom candle right on the bottom right there on the 15 minute. And then you got a super choppy move away here on the 15 minute on low liquidity. So where does that put us? That could put us in one of two situations here. Either this is the massive breakout move that we've all been waiting for, and these areas completely get left, and price doesn't come back down and visit these areas. Or when volatility opens up on Monday, we get something here, come down, wick down to 2.79. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if we did, we wick down to 2.79 and then boom, we take off because this area is extremely choppy from a low liquidity weekend. Um, so, the fills weren't very good. I'm gonna go ahead and go out to a little bit larger time frame. Same pattern, same pattern. I'm gonna go to the 30 minutes so we could really kind of just talk about what's going on here. But as you can see, choppy price action over the weekend. But we did get a breakout style move. So, those are the two conditions where TVPs get left, an extreme breakout style move or either that or the price is just waiting till later and it's going to eventually come back down and fill that level. So we're still going to see. Are we going to fill that level? It's open. But here's where we really are, on the larger pattern here. So let me actually go a little further. Let me make this easier for everyone. So we know where we were in this triangle consolidation. We kind of broke down out of the downside of that thing. Um, and then we're forming somewhat of a head and shoulders right down here. So this is kind of what you would be looking at. So XRP does perform to head and shoulders targets. We've seen it happen hundreds of times. We know XRP can perform on a head and shoulders target. Let's see if that could be let's take a conservative draw. And we could actually conservative draw this as a double bottom. But, it's a mix between a double bottom and a head and shoulders. Let's do your conservative neckline right there. And then you're going to measure from the bottom of the double bottom, come up here, puts you about like right there. And then change that blue. The head and shoulders draw is blue. And then you're going to get something like that. Like that. Okay. So you're getting a head and shoulders target right now of 2.98, which would make sense because the apex of this structure for the most part, like the most important area of the structure, seems to be running along $3. So let me go a little further. So the apex of this structure for the most part, you could see it, that's the consolidation. It's about $3, right? So it was up until this area here. Then you got a liquidity flush to the downside. So we're seeing, even if we chop around on the end here, we're going to see if these lows hold of 2.7. So 2.7 is a large liquidity wall, and these walls are what keep price in a certain range if they're not broken. And this one was not broken yet of 2.7. There's a wall there. I've showed it in previous videos. So now we're looking, okay, we're probably going to come up, we got somewhat of a move here. We're going to come up, probably test this upper band and see if we're going to get a pullback before a real ignition here. Technically, as far as stages go, we're in the ignition stage, which is still slightly choppy and sideways. But, once we transition, hopefully over the next few weeks, into acceleration phase, that's when things start to get super exciting. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, the wildest thing is XRP. Oh man. Every single one of the crypto alt cycles have been in September and October. It's a fact. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, I actually thought it was last year. I was earlier, way too early for this cycle. And I think that this time around, it looks a lot more plausible. I mean, if every single cycle happens in September and October, the run up happens. So I'm sitting here thinking another, 4 years after the last cycle, that we might actually be ready to go here. So we're gonna see. Conditions are aligned perfectly. We'll go to the XRP BTC chart. We'll go to the XRP BTC chart. There's actually so much to talk about right now. I could do a 30-minute video, but I don't really know if anyone would have the attention span to want to watch for 30 minutes. So I'm going to kind of cover a few things real quick. XRP BTC, extremely important consolidation. This is a better structure because we never broke this low right here. So we actually made a correct third wave, and that shows compression along the lows, and that shows safety along these lows. Higher. And now we're getting a move closer up to the funnel, into the funnel here, which is much safer for this overall pattern. And the apex for your pattern is about 2634. So the apex for your pattern is about 2364. And how you measure these consolidating triangles, there's multiple ways, but one of them is you take the first wave, so you take this high to this low right there, the first wave, and you put it on the apex of the funnel of the structure, which would be the middle line running through here, and you get something about right there. So for this small consolidation, it would obviously be a fractal to give way to a larger macro breakout. But the consolidation recently, XRP BTC, could put you, at 33.28. So that's how you get out of here, right? And then you have a larger structure in play right here, which is going to put you higher. Another way that you can measure this move is we could also say, okay, take it from the low here, a normal leg, right? And then go from the bottom here. There's another way to measure it, or you could throw a fib on it. The most reliable is from the first wave, top to bottom to the apex, but right here, and it kind of puts you right around the 1.618. And, it seems like a lot of these targets, they fall short. But I believe that this pattern, if it does break out, it definitely will reach the 1.618. This is just a smaller fractal pattern. If I were to go out, I definitely got to, clean off the chart real quick before I go out. But if I were to go to 1 week, where's my argument for where we are for XRP Bitcoin? So that's your target out of the smaller structure, right? You're getting like a 33 something. So how, excluding this wick, this is an exchange problem with this wick right here. This is actually not even, I gotta go like 2 weeks, guys. This is a huge structure, so ignore this wick. It didn't show up on all exchanges. So we have a very similar XRP consolidation. What's the argument that this thing could reach an extremely high level, potentially a 5x, right? From where it is currently. And you get right here, you have a volatility constriction right here. So you have your high right here. That would be your first start. Ignoring this wick, you have your high to your first low. So your first high to your first low, that's your first wave. And then you have your second high right there. It's under. So you have your second high to this low, right? Which is higher than this low. Barely, but it's higher than this low. So it counts as a second wave. Compression. And then what do you get here? So you have your big first wave, you have your second wave, and you're getting your third wave. Possibly it's about right there. It's about right there. It would be from this high to this low. So you take the apex of that structure, you can draw a line and do your thing from the first wave and put it on the apex of that structure, and I guarantee it's gonna get you up there. You know, it's gonna get you way up there, right? So that's a huge target. But if we go more conservative, right? I mean, let's say we don't even break the high, because that's like, if I mean, once these levels here break, guys, and we get a move above like 3.5, I mean, this thing is just gonna go whoop for its next leg, in my opinion. And if we just go to a reasonable level, maybe you get back up here to this flat bottom candle, or maybe you kind of run up here. But even if you were to just get down to about this area right here, okay, fine. Let's put you about right here at this. Let's put you about right there. So that's about what? A 10. So that's 10362. And so coming from 2594, that's already a 4x. If you just make a move up to something we've already done before, super easy. But this whole thing is in a funnel constriction. And when this level breaks of let's just say 3500, when that level breaks, I expect there to be a lag, right? It wouldn't be, that surprising to get a lag right here. And if it puts you up there, that's already your 4x. You get a little blow off situation, you get your 5x, and it's just right here. You don't even have to go and break the high of the structure, like I believe it's possible that we will. But just to get your 5, you only got to come up here. On the breakout of this constricting pattern, which is creating a consolidating triangle. Right, guys? So we're freaking ready to go. Get your moon boots out of the closet from 2021, because cycle timing is perfect. September, October. Remember 2021? It was the silver squeeze. Then what happened after the silver squeeze? It was the alt run, September, October. And I'm going to be honest, guys. That freaking silver squeeze, I think it just already happened again. It's rhyming with the past. And if we get a little pullback here also from the silver squeeze, then we're gonna fucking run. Excuse me. And I'm getting really amped up right here because this is perfect cycle timing. And another thing I want to cover real quick is Litecoin. So Litecoin we know has been in a large macro consolidation structure. So let's take a look real quick. I'm gonna have to go to this chart so we can actually get some history here. So anyway, guys, this is where we are. It hasn't broken out yet. It's the same pattern. It's the same pattern. This is the same drawing I've been showing you guys the whole time. It's making the 3-wave consolidation. This was your third wave. When you get a break of this high of 149, I expect it to be explosive. And that's going to be your breakout move. That's your macro breakout move for all markets. Why does LTC matter? Why do I think it matters? I think it aligns with the narrative for this cycle, which is going to be treasury, tokenization. So I think that Litecoin is going to have a huge hand in asset tokenization. The news comes out about right here, and then boom, you get your move. I mean, no one cares until they care, until price goes up to here, and you say, holy moly, this thing is breaking out. And then you're like, wow, okay, well, it's time to go. You know, treasuries are getting tokenized. That's like however many trillions of dollars. That's the best narrative that exists. And let's take a real quick look. And we're going to see that if you go here, guys, let's just go here for a sec. Charlie Lee, he created Litecoin, right? Charlie Lee, he created Litecoin. He's a freaking genius. And then what does he do? He's like, you know, he goes non-profit, sells all his coins, doesn't even care. And where does he go? And he goes to work for a company called Luxfolio, where he's going to be using Litecoin as it's intended, right? For treasury tokenization. And so then you go to Lux's website where Charlie Lee is now working, and Luxfolio. It even trades publicly. Building infrastructure for the Litecoin economy. Luxfolio Holdings Inc., CSC, that's Canadian. Lux is pioneering on-chain treasury, smart contract tooling, and clean energy. Okay, whatever. But on-chain treasuries. That's the narrative, at least, you know, to get everyone in these things. So it's gonna be super super exciting, you guys. Super exciting. I'm super excited. Here's Lux, actually the chart of Lux Folio Holdings, where Charlie Lee is now the head, and they're doing treasury tokenization. This pattern mirrors Litecoin, and it looks exactly the same as Litecoin pretty much. The only thing is that Luxfolio has already broken out, and we know this company is heavily based on Litecoin. And I believe this structure will also perform the same as Litecoin. So anyway, I hope that everyone has a wonderful morning, and thank you guys.